Hi, welcome back to another episode of SEO On-Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Mac Frederick, founder and CEO of Momentum Digital. We talk about how he started his business, what were some of the challenges he faced in the early days, and what his predictions are for the future. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hi, Mac. What would be your history, your origin story, and how did you kind of get to this point?
And so when I graduated, my parents paid for some of my education. So I felt obligated to get like a normal job, like a 9 to 5. And so got recruited by Google, which was an interesting story in itself. And then went out to Ann Arbor, Michigan and sold my little phone business that I was doing at Penn State and was still a partner at the Vortic Watch Company and got to Google. I was there about a year and a half and got bored with the 9 to 5s, started hustling on the side again and started my own marketing agency and my own phone repair company again. And that led me to where I am today.
How did you find the motivation to do what you want to do?
I think it just came from curiosity. A lot of great entrepreneurs are just talking about always be curious. I think, one of the first books I read was the Steve Jobs book, and he talks about passion and curiosity. And so that just kind of related to me and kind of, changed my mindset to find out who I really was as a person. And so it was inspiring. But yeah, I've always just been the type to want to learn and try new things.
Right. Oh, what about Momentum? How did that kind of originate?
So one of my first entrepreneur friends at Penn State, his name's Michael. He's probably smarter than me, but he's more technical.
Right.
So he could design and develop and code and build apps and all that stuff. And we got along greatly. And I helped him with one of his startups. And then whenever we both graduated, he went out to California and I was in Michigan working for Google. And I would have clients who I was consulting with for Google Ads. That was my 9 to 5, is like helping them do more with Google Ads and try new things.
Right.
But they would have terrible websites or they would have ideas that they didn't know how to execute on. So I just started referring them to my partner and being like, hey, could you build them a website or could you do this for them? Which was against Google's guidelines. You couldn't really refer out, jobs to third parties. And
Right.
so then they, some of them needed help with search engine optimization instead of paying Google Ads. And so I started doing some of that work. So it kind of started based on me thinking I was doing the right thing for clients that needed help and didn't know where to go. But obviously
Google wasn't on the same page.
Yeah, it was a conflict. So he and I started that agency in 2015 as just a way to make extra money, and it started working and growing. And some of the clients came from Google, and then we started finding our own clients and doing our own marketing. But yeah, that's how Momentum started.
And how many years has it been since then?
That was 2015, so 9 years, almost 9 years now.
Jeez. I think for a lot of business owners, when they kind of get past the second year mark, they feel a bit more confident. Because I don't really know for sure, but I feel like the first 2 years are the most grueling type of years where you have to make sure everything's done properly. You hire the right people, you put out the right processes. So in the first couple of years that you started Momentum, what were some of the challenges that you kind of faced? And how did you overcome them?
Some of the challenges would be like doing things for the first time that you've never done before. That's always difficult. And trying to learn things that you had no idea about and put them into action. Getting results for things that you've never gotten results for. It's just a lot of first time things. Like every business owner is going to face challenges doing something for the first time. But at the end of the day, like if you're able to overcome adversity, have setbacks and get through them, I think that's one of the qualifications of being a good entrepreneur is like overcoming obstacles, challenging yourself, learning new things, and just trying to improve over time consistently. Because I think it's like half of new businesses fail within the first 2 or 3 years, and then 90% of businesses fail within the first 10 years. So both my companies are almost at that 10-year mark. And I think I believe some people are more naturally innate to being entrepreneurs just based on like their personality and how they were raised and their work ethic and all that, as opposed to some
Right.
others that are just like, oh, like I want to be an entrepreneur because I've read a book or like watched a YouTube video from another entrepreneur.
I feel like some of those people who have that innate ability sometimes might not really hone in on it too much. They might have the natural talent to actually want to buy and sell or charge higher and get profits and everything, but they might not have the right leadership, let's say, qualities that can actually lead a team to get to that point. So when you started off Momentum, I'm not too sure if you were already the best leader at that point, but how did you kind of get your team on board and get them to continually be as productive as you needed them to be?
I mean, so it's a gradual thing, you know. Not many people are born great leaders. You know, you kind of learn from afar or read or educate yourself on how to be a great leader. Um, Part of that does come from confidence, which is partly how you're raised. You know, you're sort of born with confidence, but it's mostly how you're raised and like how your
Right.
parents talk to you and how you talk to yourself. Being a leader is something I've just improved on over time. I've always been a confident person because I was given the ability to be confident by my parents and by people around me growing up. Just probably mostly through sports and being
Right.
intelligent and getting good grades. You're reinforced like, oh, you're smart or like you're athletic or whatever. Um, but building leadership characteristics is something that is done through trial and error. Like, you know, hiring and doing HR and culture and, you know, talking to people respectfully instead of talking down to them or telling them what to do. Some of those things I had to learn because I was very, you know, humans are naturally emotional and I'm an emotional person, maybe more so than, you know, other business owners or you know, men or women out there. But
Right.
I would react sometimes instead of think and then come up with a, you know, a response. So that's one of the things I learned as a leader. But also with my type of business or other digital marketers out there, it's not like you need to have a traditional business and work environment. It's not like you need to have a big office with a bunch of employees where it's like traditional leadership style and like team in-person meetings and luncheons and gatherings and
Right.
off-site team building stuff. Like if you run a marketing agency these days, you could hire people all over the world, like Philippines,
Yeah.
India, Pakistan, Russia, it doesn't matter. Um, and to them, as long as you reinforce them and give them confidence and talk to them, you know, as human beings and treat them with respect and pay them well, um, you know, you can create a different type of culture that way.
This might be a bit of a tweaked question. I normally kind of ask, how does one, as a business owner, ensure you don't yourself go into burnout, and how do you ensure that your employees don't go into burnout? I'll just tweak the question a little bit in that if you were to have a remote employees, how can you avoid them getting burnout through the virtual environment?
It's a great question. I've never been asked that, but I think it is a really good question. Um, I think just it doesn't matter if they're, you know, on site or remote. I think you need to find out what motivates other people and what inspires them.
Right.
And for most remote people, it is actually going to be the money more than anything else.
Fair. Yeah.
So if you keep paying them well and increase their pay consistently over time, that's valuable to them because a lot of the people you hire are they don't come from wealthy backgrounds or wealthy countries. If you're
Right.
running a marketing agency, you're hiring people from India or Pakistan or the Philippines, and they wouldn't be working for you in the first place if they came from a wealthy family. Like if
Right.
they
Right.
came from a wealthy family in any of those countries, they're not going to be looking for a marketing or a web design job. Like they're going to be taking over their parents' business or in politics or whatever the case might be. Um, but the second thing is just human beings as general do need reinforcement and they do need external motivation and you need to treat them well, you know, ask them how their family is, you know, reward them, bonus them for good work. Don't talk down to them and just treat them with respect and be fair with them.
And kind of a similar question, how do you keep yourself from burning out? Because I mean, there must be a lot going through your mind as an agency owner.
Burnout's a tough one. I think burnout only occurs when things you're doing aren't working.
Okay.
Because if you're working 100-hour weeks and you're absolutely crushing it and growing and growing and profiting, I mean, that's a rewarding thing externally and intrinsically, because you feel like, yes, like I'm a great entrepreneur. And yes, now I have more physical, rewarding things around me. I can afford more things and do more things, and I'm making more money. I think most burnout occurs when things aren't working and you're still working a ton. Like you're putting a lot of hours, but you're actually getting worse production and decreasing over time. And that happens commonly. It doesn't really happen to people that are successful as much. And then some people are more prone to that if you have more of like a depressive type of personality, which some of that can be biological. Like if you have history of depression in your family, entrepreneurship's not going to be as good of a place for you, because there's going to be very depressing moments. There's a ton of up and downs, way more than any 9-to-5 will ever give you.
Yeah. So you pretty much have to kind of self-evaluate yourself to see whether or not you are emotionally at least capable to take up these kind of positions. Like if I'm someone who isn't really that in tune with my own emotions and regulations, I might not be the best fit to be in a leadership role.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, especially because, if things aren't going well, you're going to take it out on other people too.
Right.
And then people won't want to work for you, or people won't want to hire you.
What is the culture like in Momentum itself? Are there, let's say, like you had mentioned, are there like outside retreats or in-person meetings where you can have, let's say, more of a fun time?
The thing about Momentum is it's like entrepreneurial and culture.
Right.
Everybody that works for us is mostly young and motivated and has like the right work ethic and attitude. And we don't treat them as employees. We call them teammates, and they are their own boss. Like none of them are actually employees. They're all 1099 contractors. So I don't tell them when to work or where to work. They could travel the world and work for us if they want, which is one of the great benefits and aspects of our business is we allow you to be your own boss, and we give you clients, and they're paid based on how many clients they're working with.
Okay.
So it's kind of like being a digital marketing entrepreneur, but not having to do sales and get your own clients.
Right.
You just kind of have to follow by our guidelines.
Yeah, you still get to do your job, but you just have to follow the guidelines of Momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
Momentum has been there for quite a while. Have you kind of changed the services as well that you offered, like right from the beginning to what you offer today?
I started the agency focused on Google Ads and web design, because I would do the Google Ads and my friend would do the web design.
Michael. Right.
Yeah, Michael. And then he had another startup, and he was just kind of all over the place and not as passionate and working as hard as me. And so we split ways, and I bought his equity, and I just started hiring other people to do web design. And then I think most businesses grow and stem from new opportunities that are presented from current customers. Like if you sell a customer, one thing, maybe they also need something to go with it now.
So you do like SEO, and then they might be like, hey, could you help me out with some web design as well?
Yeah, SEO was one of the things we added. It was probably the third service. And then somebody else needs Facebook ads, and then social media marketing, and then graphic design, and which I don't really recommend. Most marketing agencies created by younger people through YouTube education now are like pick one service for one type of customer.
So like really niche down.
Yeah, like do Google ads for plumbers, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
like the company name also might be Google Ads for plumbers, so that they can get the best SEO.
Right. I think that's a little cheesy and a little spammy, but I don't disagree with that mindset and with that hypothesis. I think it makes sense. And I think it makes it a lot easier to acquire new customers and a lot easier to get really good at something. But I don't find it to be as challenging or maybe as rewarding as like building
Full
a
service.
full service company, which is a
Right.
lot more stressful.
I mean, I think that comes with it, right? The more kind of work that you put out, the more stress that you're going to get, but at the same time, the more fulfilling it feels to actually do the work successfully. So it's got
Yeah.
both the pros and cons.
And I think there's just a lot more opportunity behind it because you're not
Right.
pigeonholed. You're not, specific to one thing for one person, which there eventually will be a limit on that.
Was that something you always kind of went in, being like, this is we're always going to be something that offers more services based on the clients? Or did at some point you go like, hey, I think 3 services are fine,
I never thought about picking
limiting?
a specific vertical or niche until
Right.
things got really difficult because we're doing everything.
Okay.
But
Right.
it would have made the agency easier to run and manage. But also, most of our clients come organically.
Okay.
So we don't do any advertising or paid marketing. All of our clients either come from like networking and referrals and word of mouth, or organically from search on Google or YouTube. That's probably where 95% of our clients come from, is those two things. Um, because if you create a video or a blog for something, a bunch of different industries could find it.
Right.
Like how to get more ROI from Google Ads. That could be any industry could find that and hire you.
I feel like that is kind of like the best ways to kind of prove how good you are. You don't need advertisements, you don't need marketing because your SEO speaks for itself.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I tell clients is like whenever I'm doing like a demo with them, I'll show them our SEO metrics.
Right.
And I'll be like, who else are you talking to? What other agency? Let's compare our metrics to their metrics.
Yeah.
Or it's like, if you want to be a really good basketball player, like, are you going to hire a coach or a personal trainer that's never played basketball but has watched a lot of basketball? Or are you going to hire a coach that's watched a lot of basketball but also played a lot of basketball?
Well, it depends. Has the coach watched a lot of YouTube videos? Because then I might be like, huh, it could be really good. No, I get what you're saying. I feel like having actual experience and the proof behind it is a lot more valuable than just saying that, oh, we are an SEO agency, we do it. To be
Right.
like, hey, we're an SEO agency, here's the proof that we actually do a good job. I feel like most clients would be more than happy to have that.
Yeah. A lot of people say like the shoemaker with no shoes. It's like,
Right.
he's giving everybody else shoes, but like, you don't have nice shoes. Like, why would I buy shoes from you?
All right. So I'll give you the hypothetical then. My name is Mario. I run a plumbing business with my brother Luigi. We want to come to momentum and kind of figure out how exactly we can get our visibility a lot higher. But there are two things we're kind of aiming for. We want the organic side of things to do well, and we want to do a bit of paid promotion so that we also kind of reach every corner of this market. If we came to you for advice, what are like 3 or 4 things that you could tell us about?
The one thing I like to talk about is just business in general. Like, how'd you get started? Why'd you get into it? Who does what? More of like a business
Right.
consulting aspect in the beginning, because not everybody is meant to be a business owner. And if I can tell you have no
Correct.
idea how to run a business, that's going to make it difficult for us to be successful with you,
Right. Right.
because you could run the business into the ground. Like, you could have a drinking or a gambling problem, or you could be lazy, whatever. But the main things I'll harp on for your example would be your Google business profile and fully optimizing it, and then managing it on a consistent weekly basis with posts and updates, photos, all those things, and
Right.
getting as many Google reviews as possible, 5-star reviews. The second thing I would harp on is creating a very fast and mobile friendly website that answers people's questions right away
Okay.
on the homepage and makes it very easy for people to call and hire you. And
Okay.
then the rest of the website we could focus on later, like adding location pages and service pages and blog pages and all that stuff. And the third thing, if you want to focus on paid advertising, I'd really harp on pushing Google local service ads, also known as the
Okay.
Google guaranteed ads, which have the check mark and the guarantee, because those have more authority and a better conversion rate. And you actually pay per lead and verified lead. So you can see, okay, I'm spending X dollars and I'm getting Y dollars back. So it's very apples to apples, black and white. So those would be the three things: is the Google My Business, a very efficient website, and a local service ads.
All right. So again, I went and talked to Luigi about it. He's mentioned that we've got a good website. It is loading pretty well on mobile as well. So we've got at least the website side of things taken care of. And in terms of loading speed, we're also kind of good. But he mentioned that GMB isn't the same as it used to be. It isn't really the one that we're all aware of. So what are some changes that have happened with GMB, and how do I make sure that I can actually keep up to it now?
Yeah, it's interesting. Google's changed a lot. I mean, it used to be called Google Places years ago, and then it changed to Google My Business, and now it's the Google Business Profile, the GBP. You used to be able to download and manage your Google Business on your app, like a phone app, but now you actually manage it directly from search or from Google Maps itself. And so Google's actually trying to make it easier for business owners to run and manage their business profile, because they want to make it easier for those small businesses to advertise with them. Now, if you go onto Google and just type in my business, it'll pop right up. And some of the other changes, they've added more categories. You can connect your social media profiles to it.
Right.
You can add services with descriptions and prices, products with descriptions and prices with photos. In the last 2 or 3 years, you've been able to add Google posts, just like you would post to Instagram or Facebook. You can post to Google now, okay, whether it's an update or an offer or an event. Ever since COVID, there's a lot of attribute details you can add as well, like, safety guidelines. There's questions about, like, different variations like sex orientation, gender safe bathrooms,
right,
owner details, all these different things. But Google is also cracking down on, let's call it, black hat tactics or sketchy businesses trying to game the system, quote unquote, by creating multiple business profiles where they actually don't have locations. So you'll notice a lot of business profiles and businesses in general getting suspended or needing verified on Google too.
Right. I'm not too familiar with that. What would really be the reason behind opening multiple profiles for your business?
Sure. Great question. We see this a lot in local service businesses specifically, which is one of our main, types of clientele. We'll take a locksmith, for example. You understand a locksmith, they'll help with people's house keys and car keys and getting locked out of their houses. And so one of the main things customers do if they need a locksmith is they go to Google, right? It's very much, I need an immediate help with this problem with my lock. So they go to Google and they search locksmith near me.
Right.
It's very much, who's the closest, who can get this done the fastest. So locksmiths started realizing that. And then they realized, I could create multiple Google business profiles. So if I'm a locksmith in Philadelphia, I'm going to create a Google business profile for Center City, Philadelphia, for South Philadelphia, for North Philadelphia, for West Philadelphia, for East Philadelphia. Create as many as possible because they're free.
Yeah.
And Google allowed you to do this because Google wasn't cracking down on that. And at one point you needed to use a postcard for verification. So how do we get around that? Well, these business owners, I know Jimmy. He's my friend. He's in West Philadelphia. I'm going to send a postcard to his house address and get it verified there. Create a different phone number, same business name, use this house address, but use it as a service area business. So Google started catching on to this because it's not fair and it does go against Google's guidelines. So the good thing about that is now a lot of these businesses that are doing these,
The ones that are doing multiple GMBs.
yeah, I think, these companies that are breaking the guidelines are getting suspended, but also many legitimate business owners are also getting suspended because it's an algorithm. Google's not looking, there's not a person at Google looking at every single Google. It's an algorithm that's catching people. So if you're a locksmith and you've been here for 20 years and you have one business profile, but you used your house address to verify it,
Right.
you could get caught and suspended. And I've talked to hundreds of business owners that are almost going to go out of business because they're so reliant on their Google business profile. But we've also fixed and reinstated over 500 of these profiles as well. It's definitely one of the biggest issues with Google local marketing right now.
If, let's say, my Google business profile is the worst one you've ever seen, what would be some steps to kind of reinstate it to make it at least a little bit better?
Is it suspended or is it just not good?
It's suspended, but because it wasn't good. Like there were a lot of details that say I messed out on, or I didn't really do the right formalities for it, and therefore it got suspended.
So let's say you're a local service business again, like a locksmith or garage door repair or plumber.
Mario Luigi Plumbing.
Okay. So for the plumbing business, you don't need to have an office or a store. Like you're a service area business, so you provide services in an area, which means at some point in time, you probably created and verified this Google business profile using a home address and having Google send a postcard that you verify from the mail. So now Google needs to go back and check, because you got caught in the algorithm, why you got suspended and what we need to do to fix it. Usually Google just wants to know that you're a legitimate business following their guidelines and practicing good business. So what that means is, first thing we'll need to do is review the listing to make sure your business name is correct. You don't have a bunch of keyword stuffing. Make sure your phone number and your website link and your hours of operation and your categories, everything's correct, and you're not gaming the reviews and buying reviews. So once we make sure everything's correct, it's usually an issue with the name.
Right.
Then what we do is we submit a reinstatement form after we review the guidelines on your profile. We submit a reinstatement form by logging into your Google profile or getting access as a manager. Submit the reinstatement form, which is like, okay, what's your business name? How long you've been in business? What's the link to your listing?
Right.
What's your, do you have a business license? All these questions, right? And then from there, it takes a few days for Google to review it and get back to you. And usually they say you violated the guidelines or policy, whatever bullshit response they give you.
Right.
But really, the main thing you need to do is have business documentation. Specifically, if you're a service area business, you just need to have a business document with your EIN, which is basically I think it's like your 10-digit business ID number, like for taxes. Yeah. So it needs to have your business name on there, match your business name on Google.
Okay.
So that's the main document that works.
And that's usually been the main issue as well, why it's been suspended, I guess.
What's that?
Is that also the main reason why some of these businesses get suspended too? Because their names don't really match?
Yeah, a lot of people will use a business name that has a lot of keywords in it, which isn't their actual registered business name.
Right, okay.
Because they want to rank for a locksmith near me. So their business name is Philly Locksmith Near Me instead of Dr. Bill's Locksmith or whatever. But yeah, so you submit an EIN document. It also helps if you have other business documentation, like if you have an office or something, something that has the name on it, the correct business name, like utility bills or a business license or business insurance. It's also good to have business cards and brochures and things. Anything that has the business name on it that matches Google is good to have. The second method they really are pushing is business verification, where that's called a soft suspension instead of a hard suspension, which was the first example. A soft suspension is if they just need to re-verify your business, either by they have an automated calling system that'll call your business line or email your business that's linked to it, or doing a video verification where you actually have to log in on your phone and video everything. So,
All right. Okay.
yeah, hundreds of businesses have hired us for that. We're probably one of the top 3 agencies in the country that provides the verification and reinstatement. And we have a lot of YouTube videos and blogs that talk about it. But yeah.
The hypothetical that I gave you where we made the plumbing business, we have a good website. We've taken all the tips and tricks that you've given us for GMP and we've got it reinstated as well with the clean, at least, profile and nothing too black hat on it. And I think we've also kind of got our Google ads kind of on board. But the one thing that Luigi came to me and talked to me about is that how AI is just ramping up way too much and we should probably take advantage of it. So how does one person like myself use AI in this situation when I need help with my website, GMB, and Google Ads?
It's a good and difficult question. I don't really think any marketer knows the exact answer to this yet. I don't even think Google knows the answer to it yet. And they're one of the main creators of AI. But to me right now, I use AI to come up with ideas and to save time. I don't use it as an end all be all because Google itself is one of the creators of AI, but they don't like AI to be on websites because it's people that read and buy services. It's not an AI person buying services yet or buying products. It's still human to human. And so Google wants people's website and content to not be AI because it's not, the customer isn't AI. A human is the customer.
Right.
And so if you're just getting blogs and service pages and product pages written by AI, a human can pick out that it's, okay, this sounds like too much like
too robotic.
Yeah.
Right.
So Google's not even indexing a majority of AI written pages. So if you want to use AI, do it for something that's going to save you time. Like, hey, ChatGPT, give me 7 ideas on how to write a business book. Or, hey, ChatGPT, what are the top 5 most important things to rank a plumbing business at the top of Google? Or, hey, ChatGPT, give me 7 short paragraph outline of, the top 7 most important things to optimize your website. And then you can take those and like research those and expand upon those. Or, give me a 160 character description for digital marketing in Philadelphia. And you can use that for a Google My Business post, or give me a caption for these. The list goes on and on, but I wouldn't say use AI necessarily in your content. And then on the other side of things, when it comes to advertising, you can be broader in advertising now with paid digital ads like Facebook, like Meta or Google, which has its pros and cons, but you can be much broader in your advertising efforts now because of AI.
Okay.
If you have the structure and the conversion tracking and certain analytics stuff set up correctly, you can basically use AI to get better ROI from your paid advertising by even leaving it broad, because Google and Facebook are trying to get any small business to advertise now, and they don't want to give them a bad taste in their mouth and bad results.
Right.
So they use AI to get them better results.
Okay, so we can probably use AI, but then not as a solution for everything, but more of like a guide to help us with certain ideas or concepts, or just to help as a research type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final kind of question is not really a question, but it's more of like a plug for yourself. If you had 2 to 3 minutes to promote yourself and Momentum, how would you kind of go about it?
If you're a small business and you want to dominate on Google as a small local service business specifically, Momentum is probably one of the top agencies in the country to help with that. That is affordable and easy to work with, and has worked with a business like yours and gotten results that you're looking for, whether it's on Google Maps and local search, whether it's fully optimizing and managing your website, or whether it's getting better ROI on Google Ads and LSA. We are a Google Premier Partner. I used to work at Google, And I built my businesses, three 7-figure businesses now, on the backbone of Google alone, organically. So I practice what I preach, and those are the types of businesses that I can help with. And I'm a blue collar, small town guy that would love to work with any other small business owner like myself.
And where can people find you and Momentum?
Well, you can Google me, Mac Frederick, or you can Google Momentum Digital. We'll be the first to pop up. We have lots of reviews, case studies, information. Check me out on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. I've got a ton of free videos on there.
Thank you so much for the chat, Mac. It's been really great. If you don't mind, can we have you again for another episode in our 4th season? We can probably talk more about the future and predictions.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.